Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, reviews have gone up. And the common thread with all of this, people love the game. There's some people that don't, but in general, the majority of people seem to love the game, but really have problems with performance. Now, we'll see this in some of the reviews. There's a different approach some people take to reviews and scoring and stuff that needs to be clarified at the outset, okay? Number one, some people give out their review scores independent of performance because they're trying to evaluate the game, not the state of the game. So an example would be like giving Cyberpunk at launch a 9 out of 10. And you're like, yeah, it's broken, but in 6 months, it's going to be fixed. And then it's going to be the 9 that I feel that it is underneath all of the jagged edges and stuff. And then other people will penalize the game for being a broken mess or having a lot of bugs in the review score. I think the way you do this is the way that I think it was IGN did it for Prey, which was that the game was super broken for them. They could not progress. Even with the help of the developers, they could not, even with a fresh save file provided by the devs, they could not progress to the end of the game. They got softlocked. They could not finish the game. So they gave it like a 4, but they said, when it's fixed, we'll go back and re-review it and rescore it with that. And sure enough, when they fixed that problem, they rescored it at like whatever they ended up giving it, I think a 9 or something. So I think that's the way to do this. If a game launches and has a bunch of technical issues, penalize it in the score, because companies should not be incentivized to release buggy stuff. You should punish them for releasing buggy and broken stuff, but you should also reward them eventually when they fix it with patches and stuff by rescoring it. That's my perspective. That's my opinion. But as we go through this, you'll see that there's a lot of 8s and 9s and stuff. I don't recognize some of these websites. Sector, I'm not sure what that is. Recognizable ones, Game Rant. Overall, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is truly something special. It's not perfect, but manages to succeed in some major areas that many other games fall short in. Its open world is one of the best I've been in for quite some time, but its morally gray choice-driven narrative is something worth writing home about. Okay, that sounds very good. PC Gamer, just like the old days, performance issues and bugs don't stop Stalker's mad, wonderful heart from shining through. And this is perhaps something else to add to this. Stalker has a very diehard fan base, and that fan base has a higher tolerance. It's been compared to like Eurojank is a term that's thrown around a lot with it. People have compared it to like old school Bethesda Game Studios titles where they're buggy and janky, but it's almost, it adds to the charm, you know, it adds to it. And I'm not somebody that is inclined to take that stance. I don't think any company should have stuff like hand waved away like that. I think that's a very slippery slope that you could end up in some weird spots with. But I do think that there's going to be some people for whom the bugs do not bother them as much. But this brings me to a central point that I want to bring up in a tweet that somebody posted. Okay, let me get it. Oh, I think I retweeted it. I think that's what happened. Reposted, sorry. Oh God, I said the thing wrong. As you can see, it turns out holding refuse until 2 hours before the game launches was a red flag. Sure was, it seems. This is interesting though. So Jordan Midler, a journalist, podcast host, energy drink sommelier at VGC, and we've talked about VGC reviews a lot because I'm generally pretty pleased with how they do things, but let's see. GSC Game World has informed us that in the week since we received our review code, it has fixed numerous issues with the game. VGC's playthrough was completed as these fixes were being implemented, and as such, our review reflects our time with the game as it was provided to us during the review period, before a 140 gigabyte patch was delivered 48 hours before the embargo lifted. Despite noticing limited improvements with this new version, so it fixed some stuff, but not everything, VGC is unable to verify that the litany of issues experienced in the version of the game we were given to review have been fully resolved. At the time of writing, we continue to have the issue with the screen frequently going black, for example. That's a big issue. And as such, our score remains based on the version initially supplied to us until we can be fully confident that any subsequent changes have made substantial improvements. Now, we were just talking earlier in the stream about Callisto Protocol, which I actually have the statue. It holds up my second play button because I don't have another plastic stand, and they sell those plastic stands that's holding up the other one in like packs of 10. And I'm not Mr. Beast, dude. I don't have that many play buttons. What am I going to do with them? So anyway, this is it, right? Beautiful statue. It's lovely. Turns out the game had more problems, but the reason I bring up Callisto Protocol, because we were talking about earlier in the stream, since they just supported 8K whatever resolution, is because, I'll set him here, is because something interesting happened with that review embargo. And if you weren't watching my channels at the time, that's totally fine. I forgive you. But something interesting happened back during that review period as well. That's very similar to what seems to be happening with Stalker 2. What happened was we got the review code. We'll say that this is our little timeline. This is the launch. Yay, game launches right here. Launch, or we'll do it like The Office. Launch party. It's a launch party. Yay, we're gonna have a launch party there. So that's where the launch is. Here's where we got codes. Okay, codes come in right here. I played the game, Callisto Protocol. Play the game, get to like right here, okay? We'll say that the reviews go up right here, okay? Review embargo right there. So I played the game, I'm writing my review, and this is what I'm doing between this period, is I'm writing and we're making the video and we're finalizing the video. What happened with Stalker, or with Stalker, is the same thing as what happened with Callisto Protocol, which is that there was a big patch that went out like right here that claimed to fix a lot of the problems. Because with Callisto Protocol, it was super buggy. There was a huge problem with shader compilation, where every time you'd enter a new room, it would stutter like crazy. Anytime a new smoke or like a cool spark effect would happen, it would stutter. It was really, really bad. It spoiled every jump scare in the game. It was really unfortunate because the rest of the game looked great, but it was a huge problem. But what was crazy is we played this. My review, I remember, had paragraphs describing all the technical issues I had. And then they issued this patch that in bullet points fixed a lot of the problems, if not the vast majority of the problems I had in here. So with like 12 hours, this isn't proportional, but with like 12 to 18 hours left until the review embargo lifted, I tried it, seemed to fix most of my stuff, and I rewrote part of the review to be like, okay, some of the problems have been fixed, if not all of them, but just know during the review period, I had a lot of bugs, and they might still be there. I just don't have time to play through the whole thing again. And I'm like, hopefully people can understand that. And then what happened with Callisto Protocol was funny, and also happened with Stalker 2. They issued another patch, like right here. So now really, you don't know. This is like 140 gigs. This one was like 48 or something, or 40 gigs or something like that. So they issued two massive patches with hours to go until the review embargo lifts. And in the case of Stalker 2, launch is actually right here too, because the review embargo lifted 2 hours before the game launched. And so reviewers have no way of possibly testing the fixes that are coming to the game. You just kind of have to trust or hope. You need some goddamn faith that they've actually fixed it. And I don't like that. I don't like it when studios and publishers are like, please remove mentions of performance issues that we probably fixed. Pretty please. Like, I just find it unprofessional. I don't like it. But there's that. Other little things. Where is it? I mean, as you can see, other people, IGN Deutschland gave it an 8. Windows Central gave it an 8. Most of these, some major issues with certain mutant encounters. Like, there's a lot of mentions of bugs and things, but a lot of the people that have played this played the original and weren't too concerned with it. Didn't find it to be that disruptive. As it stands now, Stalker 2 is fun and has a lot of potential, but it would be unfair to call it good. Unfair to call it good. You can easily sink 100 hours into it without noticing, especially if you have a deep love for previous iterations. However, the performance issues, overall inconsistency in many areas, and clumsy presentation will hold back the game until a major overhaul. And this is what I saw when I tried the game back at Summer Game Fest. Now, it seems the version that reviewers played before patches was very similar to the version I played at Summer Game Fest. At Summer Game Fest, we played a demo that was real bad, and I made a video describing how it was the worst thing I played at the show. Does that mean the final game is bad? No, not necessarily. It just means it's a bad freaking demo. but I'm going to tell you that it was a bad demo. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like it was great. Like, oh, I have so much fun trying what these guys have said. Like, those are the Access journalist, like, cringe lords that just go and tell every studio what they want to hear. If I play a demo and it's bad, I'll tell you the demo's bad. If it's good, I'll tell you it's good. But it was a bad demo. And it seems like the version of the game a lot of reviewers got was broken like that demo was. Now, did those two patches, did these two big patches fix those problems? It's possible. It's possible. But because they were provided so late, we still don't know. And the game is out now, you know, which is frustrating to say the very least. But as you see here, this is from VGC. Sadly, Stalker 2 is by far the most unstable game we have reviewed in a long time. As stated at the beginning of this review, there are likely reasons for this beyond usual review build jank, but it's impossible to ignore that for several sessions during our week with the game, it became genuinely unplayable. A repeated bug saw the screen cut to black roughly every 90 seconds. We had to reinstall 150 gigabytes of the game several times. And that's not including the 160 gigabyte patch that dropped less than 48 hours before the embargo. Lighting elements were broken in some scenarios. There's a host of audio bugs, and we also faced an issue where not a single input would work on the game, including keyboard and mouse or controller, until we forced our computer to turn off. And then they provide some screenshots. They largely look fine. I think this is all on PC as well. Realistically, many of these issues will be fixed, but it's impossible for us to know which of them will and when, and thus it's colored our time with the game. While games in this genre do have a history of coming out somewhat undercooked to later be saved by built-in modding community, this doesn't feel like that. Stalker 2 we have played for a week felt like it wasn't ready for public release. And bear in mind, this has been delayed multiple times. And then they have the little tidbit about GSC Game World saying that they fixed a lot of the problems, but again, it's not the reviewer's fault that you waited until literally the last possible moment to share this with everybody. Now, on the flip side, if we look at one of those like really positive reviews, I'm curious if Hardcore Gamer, who gave it a perfect score, I'm curious if they mention bugs or anything at all. Describing the game, world building, drawing comparisons between this and Fallout. AI received some serious updates since the last game. Okay, paranormal activity. Mentioning artifacts. It's a feast for the eyes, although I'd be advised to temper your expectations before going in if those expectations are based on the reveal trailer showcase a couple of years ago. Textures, lighting, and especially shadows aren't as crisp as what was shown back then. Meanwhile, a lot of character models could use a facelift, as there are noticeable inconsistencies in that area. I've been running Stalker 2 with everything cranked up to the max and willing to bet my last coupon that the devs had to tone down the visuals a bit for the sake of performance. And credit where credit is due, it does run smooth as butter for the most part, save for some occasional frame drops, a couple odd bugs involving floating characters, and a random crash. I haven't experienced any major technical issues as far as the visual and gameplay are concerned. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the audio. So even the perfect score mentions audio problems. During my playthrough, I repeatedly ran into an issue where gun sounds would become muffled in combat. Needless to say, that's a problem in a game that relies heavily on directional sound. That aside, the sound design in Stalker 2 is fantastic, and one of the main reasons why the world feels as immersive as it does. Most of the soundtrack is appropriately eerie, and then they just move right past it. Okay. It's nothing short of a miracle. There's no doubt being developed by a Ukrainian studio in the middle of like an actual war is very impressive. But like, if we're reviewing the game, we have to review like the game, you know. It's we can appreciate the outside circumstances, but it's still a game that we're trying to look at. So even the perfect score review has pretty severe audio problems, but they notably did not have any serious issues with like the game blacking out or anything like that. Interesting. So where does it land? I'm guessing once it's fixed, Stalker fans will really enjoy it. That seems to be the point that is the common thread here. Like, the people that play the game love the game. They're just frustrated that some stuff often prevents them from actually playing it. I did install it. Should we see if it's broken? Should we see if it's buggy? Can't hurt. Can't hurt, right? Says it's trying to launch the game. We'll see if it launches. Waiting patiently, waiting. Stalker fans, don't call them anomalies, not bugs. Or call them anomalies, don't. Okay. Epileptic seizures. Yeah, no, don't worry. We're going to like touch on the first maybe 5-10 minutes. We're not going to like sit here and play it for the whole stream. I just want to see if we run into anything immediately hilarious. Unreal Engine, work of fiction. Sure, allow it. Why does it need access to my firewall? Anyway, compiling shaders. Compiling shaders. They made a game in the middle of a war zone. What do you expect? Well, like, this is a difference of opinion. In my view, a reviewer should not consider outside circumstances in the review. Like, if you are playing, like, I'm trying to think of another game that had like really outsized things. I can really think. Like, I don't think you should have to worry or factor in other extenuating circumstances when you review a product. Like, if a car was designed by people within a war zone, I can appreciate how remarkable it is that you designed a car under those circumstances. That's incredible. But if the car is a piece of garbage, I'm not going to be like, well, yeah, you're probably going to like die if you try to drive it regularly, but you know, it's really impressive that it exists. So I'm going to give this a recommend. Like, that's not how that works. And in the case of video games, obviously it's not life and death, but in the case of video games, it's like, if it's broken and you can't enjoy it, then like, no, I'm not going to recommend that you try it. We're not going to do that. Display. That looks good enough for me. Sound. Full. Okay, that looks pretty. That looks pretty. We're gonna go here. We're gonna go, it defaults to rookie difficulty. Stalker veteran. It's funny, it defaults to rookie. That seems weird. Graphics, epic, 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 epic. I'm gonna leave everything epic. Quality, frame generation, auto, sure, epic. Yeah, let's just leave everything epic. Full screen borderless. I will crank up the FOV a little bit, otherwise I will get motion sick. And as funny as that may be, I don't want to do that to you. Okay, for players looking for balance, suited for beginners and players who are more interested in the story, let's just do Stalker. I'm going to turn on our performance metrics if they will turn on. Maybe. They've not turned on. Oh my god, it's a blue chew. Sorry, my TikTok feed is nothing but like people making fun of TikTok advertisements. You guys should be jealous of my TikTok feed. It's really good.
Dr. Dallin, are you sure the perimeter surrounding the zone is really enough? If a powerful emission were to occur,
Listen, the zone has remained stable for years. Besides, we didn't establish the most advanced institution in human history without first guaranteeing its safety. As the head of the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl
I need Afterburner.
or CIRCA for short, I believe the wonders that we will bring to the world far outweigh the potential risks.
Oh, is it not installed on this profile? Is that why? Oh, hold on.
The zone reveals a whole new world. We can stick with the old one, fearing change. But tell me, do you want our descendants to remember us as cowards? Or as those who dared to venture forward to a new, better humanity?
Better humanity.
The injured were evacuated. I remind our listeners that a similar incident happened in our region quite recently, ruining homes and livelihoods. city officials urge people to stay calm, assuring them the situation is totally under control.
It looks, as you say, bonita. I think this is the same sequence we saw during the demo at SGF. And I'll tell you, this already looks way better than it did back then. Transition to gameplay. That was a juicy frame drop.
Back there? I'm okay. This zone is really raging today. See that?
Yep. The screen tearing is back from the demo. Why is it so dark? I mean, I think it's in the settings when we were setting it up, like it looked right. But we might have to brighten it, but maybe this is part of it, like it's supposed to be dark. I'm sorry to skip it. We don't want spoilers. Oh, that's funny. They just fast forward. That's how they skip it. That's funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off frame generation so that I can turn on VSync so that we don't get that terrible screen tearing. Okay? Off. And then usually it's under display, confirm. Viewport VSync. It doesn't want me to turn it on. It's because it wants me like full screen. Maybe that's why. Let's try it. Let's try this. Okay. Because the VSync, I think, is going to make a big difference. Nope, it still doesn't want to do it. We turned off frame gen. That's usually the only thing that prevents us from... Oh, it turned back to auto? Turn off, apply. I just don't know how to press buttons. Disabled, we're going to enable, boom, apply. Okay, now let's see what it's like with frame gen, not on auto. Okay. Oh God. I mean, the reflections look nice. I'll give them that. I'll also brighten it up. And we'll change it to... I don't know how to read that, but I'm guessing that's not English. Let's do... Sure. No copyrighted music. Cancel. I just don't know how to press confirm, apparently. Display, viewport, contrast, brightness, gamma. Let's brighten it up just a tad. Okay. Oh my God, it undid it. Hold on, I'm a professional. I'm a professional. So that looks way too bright, but maybe that's just what we have to do so you guys can actually see what's on screen. Okay, okay, I can actually see stuff. Okay, okay. No hilarious bugs yet. Left control to crouch. Tab, knife, stab. Can't see anything, but I think that's the point. I am a Jedi. I'm gonna take that. Oh wait, I remember this. I remember this. Take the flashlight. No, take it. I wanted to move it into me inventory. Just take all. Just take. Okay. Whoop. Sorry. Sorry, fam. There it is. Made it. Ooh, yummy crabs. And we're free. Okay. I want to see this up here. There's a guy up here that we fight. And when I tried it in the demo, it was like super bugged. But oh, there's the pop in. Okay. Hey, piggy. Oh, wait, bet jank, isn't it? They still using... No, I think that's ray traced. Okay. It's not going to come through on the stream, but it's like, it's very grainy. And I think it's... I don't think it's a post-processing effect. I think it's really hard to tell. It's very different. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait, I picked this up. Equip it. Okay. This was the guy that was super buggy. He like kept moving in a T-pose. I guess it can't hurt to have two. Double up. Double trouble. I did not mean to drink that. I'm sorry. Let's see. It is far more immersive with the different language selected with it in Ukrainian. Look at that. Ugh! Yeah, there are really random and arbitrary frame drops. It's really strange, but it comes out of nowhere. Like I was climbing up a ladder and then it drops a bunch of frames. I don't really understand what the deal is. Okay, I will crouch and then I will break it. There we go. I mean, it's not running as well as you would hope on a 4090, but it's also not terrible. But then again, we are only in the first few minutes of the game. I don't want to be unfair or to be presumptive that this is how it's going to run for the whole game. But I think if you have a $5,000 PC, it runs playably. So there you go. There you go. That's all you need. Just easy peasy, guys. I am getting, though, if you're going to try to play this on like a lower end PC, it's going to be a struggle for your life. I think that seems to be a common thread. Have seen, so this is not the only one. I did see a couple of posts from people that were trying this on Xbox. And it does seem like on Xbox, this also leaves a wee bit to be desired. There's already people kind of walking it back, pointing out that it maybe doesn't look the best. Like even the most diehard of diehard Xbox. Oh, wait, this is funny. He didn't play the whole game. He played 5 hours and then gave up. Stalker 2 on Xbox Series X, you will die a lot. The console version is underwhelming visually and performance is rough, which my general approach is if Colt says something's rough, it's probably like sandpaper. I mean, it's probably like bad. Played five to 6 hours. The game didn't hook me. It's meant to be a grind early on. I'll get back to it. But the game was presented as its best on PC and just doesn't look like that on Xbox Series X. I know it's not fair, but I looked directly at the Metro Exodus on Xbox One X, and that was more graphically advanced. I recommend downloading the game if you like the survival genre or if you have Game Pass. You should redo this or delete it. What I'm saying is that on a like literally the best gaming PC you can buy, it runs okay. I would hope for better than okay, especially because I don't think what we're seeing is like top of the generation or top of the market graphics or anything. I understand it's a survival game, but it definitely has more polish that it needs. But I'm guessing, and I don't have a lower tier gaming PC to test on, if one of you guys have like maybe a 3060, 3070 and you have Game Pass, if you're able to, would you do us all like a huge solid and like download it and report back to us in like an hour how it runs for you? I really want to know, because I'm curious if it is as rough as I suspect it will be on lower tier hardware. Yeah, if one of you poor people have a 3070. Well, the thing is, like, I have a 4070 in the streaming PC, and then my gaming laptop, I think, is a 3070. But I don't have that with me. Like, I don't have it here. I want to build a second PC that just every year I update, so it has the most popular hardware on the Steam survey, so I have something to test games with on the, like, median hardware. Anyway, the lesson with all of this seems to be, if a studio and publisher chooses to withhold reviews until 2 hours before the game launches, it's probably because there's something that they don't want the public to see. Now, they might have fixed all of those problems in these last minute patches. They might have. The point, though, is that because they dropped the patches at the literal last minute, there is nothing that we can really do. Like, I don't blame the reviewers for reporting that the version they played was bad and was broken. Maybe the game wasn't bad, but the version that they played was bad. It was broken, buggy. When you have the screen going black for like seconds or minutes at a time, every 90 seconds, like VGC was reporting, that's a problem. I understand some people can tune out some technical issues, but stuff like that is unacceptable. And I understand, oh, well, maybe it's only on AMD hardware, or maybe it's only Intel CPUs or whatever you could hand wave it away with. But this shouldn't be acceptable for any studio, for any game or release. And the thing is, like, they delayed the game a lot. I understand there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, but Xbox is behind this. Like, if Xbox really wanted to polish it up like they did Starfield, they could put extra people on it. I'm not sure if they did that, but I think they should have. Early access, yeah, it kind of seems like it. Running fine on my 3070. I have a 3060 working fine. I would see. I'm wondering, because the beta was also, because the demo was also this early portion, I'm wondering if these issues creep up later in the game and they focused polish on the early, because that happens a lot. I might buy it today, but I have to refund it on 3050. Yeah, I don't know. Well, keep reporting to us. I mean, I really hope they fixed a lot of the issues at launch. The great thing is it's on Game Pass, so if it is in fact like super buggy or doesn't work well even later in the game, you just set it aside and play something else on Game Pass. Like, it works better that way. That system is more forgiving. But I'm glad to see that the core game seems really compelling. It just seems like it's all technical stuff. It's probably safest to just wait and play it in 6 months. But I know a lot of people who are like really into Stalker want to jump in right now. In which case, go for it. Go for it. Hopefully it stays polished. Hopefully the 100, I think it was 140 gigs, then another 40 gig. Hopefully those patches actually did something and fixed it. That'd be great. But see what I mean? That, like, it's such an unnecessary shooting of yourself in the foot. Like, it's such a stupid thing. You really don't need to do that. Why do you launch a game that doesn't work? I don't get it. Because it's really expensive to keep developing the game. And so at some point, you just got to get it out there. And when was the original launch date? Do you guys remember? In January, after years of development and multiple delays. So they delayed it for years. And then they pushed it and said their final release date was September 5th. This past September 5th. And then after that, they said, sorry, we're going to November 20th again, our actual final release date. So they delayed it a lot. And I mean, that's why, like, when people were saying that I was like making up how it ran in June, like, if it's running like that for reviewers after all these delays, surely you can understand how the demo probably wasn't that great. It's probably pretty rough, you know? Probably pretty rough. He took my thing.